I'm the SI meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Monday, January 21st. Looks like a very wintry week here in the Mid-Atlantic region. After a very mild weekend, temperatures reached at or above 50 degrees on both days in much of the Mid-Atlantic over the weekend. But a strong frontal system came through late in the day, accompanied by some strong wind gusts. Much colder weather for today, but there's a secondary push of Arctic air headed our way that'll come through by early tonight, and that secondary push of the Arctic air could very well be accompanied by a burst of snow, some snow showers, maybe even a heavier snow squall or two. A quick coating to an inch is possible in some parts along the I-95 corridor late in the day, early tonight, and that could cause some slippery spots. Much colder for Tuesday and Wednesday, and bitter cold continues into Thursday as well. And then a more significant storm looks like it'll affect the Mid-Atlantic region on Friday, potentially with several inches of snow. More on that as the week progresses. Let's take a look at the 24-hour temperature change. This map comes from the Penn State eWall site. And just one thing I want to point out here, much colder today in the eastern part of the nation here compared to yesterday morning. Of course, at this time, we were quite a bit milder yesterday, headed to 50 degrees in many locations. But notice there's kind of a little bit of a lull out here in the Ohio Valley, and then like a secondary push out here over the upper part of the Midwest. And indeed, there is a secondary push with a second blast of Arctic air headed into the Mid-Atlantic region. And that secondary front could cause a little burst of snow late in the day and early tonight. So much colder right now, but even colder air is headed to the Mid-Atlantic, and Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday will be the coldest three-day period we've had here in the Mid-Atlantic region in quite a long time. There's kind of an interesting way to look at this secondary push of colder air coming in. This is an actual wind map. If you Google wind map, this comes up at hint.fm/wind. And what it shows is the flow of winds, and the brightness is proportional to the wind speed. So you see, cutting across the Midwest here, we have a strong northwesterly flow of air, but right around here in the Mid-Atlantic region, there's kind of a convergence zone with some southwesterly winds behind it and out of the southeast ahead of it. And indeed, there's a secondary front sitting right around here, and that will work its way to the east coast, and as it does, there'll be kind of a storm system developing along the front that'll intensify as it continues to progress to the east. The main point I want to make here is there's a secondary push of Arctic air headed our way for the for late afternoon, early part of tonight, and again, that can be accompanied by a burst of snow. Well, here's a more conventional surface map, and here is that secondary push of Arctic air here, this cold front here depicted on this surface map. Again, there's very cold air ahead of it, but even colder air is pushing in behind it. And as this front heads towards the east coast, this little wave of low pressure will intensify a little bit as it reaches this region right about in here. And there can be some snow showers, maybe even a period of steadier snow, just a brief period, but a coating to an inch anywhere from D.C. up across Philadelphia and into New York City by early tonight. And if that does happen, indeed, it can cause some slippery spots. Much colder air moves in later on tonight, and tomorrow, Wednesday, and Thursday will be bitter cold here in the Mid-Atlantic region, just ahead of the next storm system, which is a more important storm on tap for Friday, and it looks like that could bring significant snow, possibly mixed with sleet or freezing rain, but primarily snow, I think, from Philadelphia up north and east, maybe even across the D.C. area. We'll have more on that as the week progresses. Well, let's focus in on these two snow threats for the Mid-Atlantic region. First, late in the afternoon, and then early tonight as that second push of Arctic air moves into the region. This is from last night's Zero-Z GFS model run for late in the afternoon. Notice there's still a little low pressure area sitting right here, with an area of snow throughout the Great Lakes region, right throughout much of Pennsylvania at this time. The rain-snow line is well to the south and east here. It's not out of the question that these snow showers that could develop late in the afternoon be mixed with a little bit of rain very briefly at the onset, especially south of the Mason-Dixon line. But the colder air in the upper atmosphere, I think, will quickly change that to snow. And this is, again, late in the afternoon. Now, let's take a look about 3 hours ahead. And here's the map for early evening. 3 hours later, that low shifts to just off the New Jersey coast. Again, a little band of precipitation here in the form of snow showers up and down the I-95 corridor. Even colder air slowly filtering in here behind this wave of low pressure. Now let's jump ahead another 3 hours. And by late this evening, that low then moves off the coast and actually intensifies a little bit, still throwing back a little bit of precipitation in the form of snow showers, maybe even a heavier snow squall or two into the I-95 corridor. So this definitely bears some watching because it could cause some slippery spots by early tonight up and down the I-95 corridor. Much colder air then pours in behind this by late tonight, and especially Tuesday, Wednesday into Thursday. Well, let's jump ahead to the late week threat. Again, this is a more important storm potentially for around the Friday time frame. By Friday morning, and this is the GFS forecast map for Friday morning, we have a storm over the Tennessee Valley. Notice the rain snow line still kind of cutting way down into the south. A second, even colder isotherm here with high pressure situated over the northeastern part of the country. This storm has a fair amount of moisture with it, and it is taking a track something like this. Let's now jump ahead to 12 hours later. And here's a GFS forecast map for Friday evening. That storm cutting through maybe Virginia here on to the continuing to off the mid-Atlantic coast. Has a fair amount of moisture with it. That rain snow line comes awfully close to the D.C. region. Again, there can be a mixture, especially south of the Mason-Dixon line with this potential storm on Friday across the D.C. region, for example. So we're still not certainly set in stone on significant accumulations, but I do believe there's a threat for some several inches of snow, Philadelphia north and east, and perhaps even as far south as the D.C. region, and this threat should go all the way up to Boston on Friday. So we'll have more on this as the week progresses. That is a more important storm than the one that comes late today and early tonight. However, the one late today and early tonight can be tricky because it could put down a quick coating, very short period of time, causing some slippery conditions, and then much colder air actually moves in behind it, probably the teens in many spots in the mid-Atlantic region by tomorrow morning. So a very wintry week. Stay tuned to the SIWeather.com for updates. I'm meteorologist Paul Dorian.